everybody. It's Tom Stoukas coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario, November 22nd, Saturday. Hope everybody's having a nice night. So, the big X story for me today on my feed is all about Ukraine. Ukraine. The big peace plan that they're trying to put together. But what's dominating my news feed is the the pro-Ukraine accounts that are desperate to keep this war going. It's crazy. That's all I've seen today on my feed. I mean, a few anti-globalist war, as I call it, but mostly like just people losing their minds that this war against Russia might end or should end, but they don't want it to end. They want to go full World War III on Russia. And I'm sure all these neocons and Europeans, I don't know, these European leaders are desperate to go to war with Russia for some reason, with the exception of Hungary and a couple other smaller states. But the neocons in the U.S., in Canada, we want to go to war with Russia. They're like, it's crazy. I don't want to go to war with Russia. So, yeah, this should be interesting to see if Trump can manage to find a permanent peace deal with Putin, or if these warmongers, globalist warmongers, will sabotage the deal somehow. It's very interesting because if, Ukraine is supposed to give up, have to give up land, and a lot of the Ukrainian nationalists they said they'll take Zelensky out if he agrees to something like that. So a lot of tense things going on. But I was against this war from the start. Shouldn't have happened. The European leaders and like I said, the globalist warmongers from all the countries really want to go to World War III with Russia. I don't know. They want to break Russia into pieces, whatever. I don't mind Russia. Like, Canada shouldn't be enemies with Russia. We both like hockey. We're both predominantly Christian northern Arctic countries. Like, we have a lot in common. I don't understand this obsession with the liberal, even the conservatives in Canada have the same policy against Russia. It's like, I'm not saying they're like, we should trust them and be, trust them to not screw us over, but this kind of obsession of going to war with Russia, like the Canadian military trying to recruit 300,000 volunteers. Why are they trying to do that? Who knows what they want to do? Throw them into the meat grinder, maybe. That'd be funny. And yeah, so and another thing is, like, you got guys like Mark Carney and Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer and the guy in Germany, Merz, I don't know his first name. Their countries are destroyed. They've let in like millions of invaders, and they got civil unrest in their own countries, and they want to go to war with Russia. It's like, it makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense on who benefits from the war, but it doesn't make sense for the citizens of those countries. Like, I think France was saying the other day, the president was like, we have to prepare to sacrifice our kids or something for war against Russia, which is such a weird thing to say. And then the other story is Mark Carney's in South Africa at the G20 in South Africa. I think that's the first time they've had it in Africa. And the U.S. is boycotting, which is pretty funny. Trump is boycotting it because he doesn't like how South Africa's treating its white minority population, and also the conference is focused on like DEI and climate. Let's see what it says here. Summit's focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, climate change, and inequality. In issues the administration has dismissed as anti-American. Okay, so that's right up Mark Carney's alley, the Canada's alley, where the We're still woke up here in Canada. And it's just, oh my God, could you imagine being at that G20 summit? Oh God, they're already talking nonsense. Like the big thing was, Carney was commenting on AI data centers. Basically, he wants to tax the hell out of them with their stupid carbon tax, carbon pricing, carbon markets. It's all scam. And we have a clip of him talking about it. I mean, I don't even understand what he's saying. All I see is someone trying to steal money. And the data centers were supposed to be a big opportunity for Canada. And especially Alberta, because Alberta's got a lot of natural gas. So you need a lot of energy to run these data centers because AI is going to be the future, I guess. And so it would have been a big boom for Alberta. But if Carney wants to tax this, make it carbon neutral, I don't even know what that means. And like tax basically the carbon used to power the data centers, it could make, people not want to build a data center in Canada. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, China's going to build data centers, the US is going to build data centers, and we're going to have our carbon neutral data center. Oh my God. So no wonder Alberta wants to leave Canada, when every word that comes out of Mark Carney's mouth is bad mouthing oil, bad mouthing natural gas. And Albertans listen to that and they're like, why would we want this? Like, when they see the States is drilling like crazy, opening up areas and encouraging more resource extraction, not less, like Carney, and no taxes, like not talking about any carbon tax down there. So when you're in Alberta, you're looking at that and you're saying, why should we be part of this, funding all this commie woke crap in Canada with our oil? Like, I get it. I don't think, obviously I wouldn't, it's better if they don't leave Canada, but I could understand when they're seeing that Carney talking about, oh my God, everything he talks about is carbon. He's obsessed with carbon. And which is funny because like one solar flare from the sun could destroy our whole environment, so this carbon business sounds like a big scam to extract more, like, what's it called, a transfer of like, just basically a financial transfer from the peasants to the masters, I think. I don't know. So let's look at this. The big thing today was Ukraine. So lots of action on Ukraine. A lot of people freaking out that Trump might end the war. I have a lot of problems with Trump, but if he can end this war and get in friendly terms with Russia. If you say that, people call you a Putin puppet. But I grew up in the Cold War, and like worrying about getting nuked. So it's like, it's a good idea to be, I think, for us to have good relations with Russia. I don't think that's a radical thing to say at all. I want to, it just, so here we go. Of course, the reaction. Canada joins Europe in rejecting Trump's Ukraine plan. Defense minister says sovereignty is key. Yeah, okay. So they're basically saying, I saw Anita and she's like, oh, this is all up to Ukraine. This is whatever they decide. And it's like, no, kind of, it's not. It's not. So until we start, they start talking normal reality, you're not going to get anywhere with Canada, Anita and the foreign minister and Mark Carney and all the European leaders saying the same thing. Ukraine has no money. They have no weapons. They got all their money and weapons from us, and kind of hard to make sovereign decisions when you can't even fund yourself. So let's see what this is. Okay. see that in the news media here are really up in arms. They were trying to scuttle this deal too. So let's say the world's most influential nations gathered in South Africa to work around Washington's disruptive foreign policy Saturday. There you go. Reaching consensus on issues like climate change and gender equality. There you go. While pushing back on the Ukraine deal that Western allies deemed insufficient. For Canada, disruptive geopolitics led to a technology pact with India. Oh, that should work out great. We're going to get more Indians. A recent foe, along with the cut to Ottawa's funding for global health and talks with countries grappling with American and Chinese trade corridors. Okay, whatever. It's a great day for multilateralism, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. Oh my God. She's so useless. Okay. President Donald Trump ordered a boycott of the summit, accusing South Africa of enabling anti-white violence. All right. Yeah, I was wondering where Trump was. Okay, I don't care about South Africa. I just want to read about what they say. Ukraine. So yeah, they're scared to death that Trump might actually do something he promised and try to end this war. It's a horrible war. Like, the U.S. faced further pushback over the Trump administration's proposed peace deal for Ukraine, which has been widely seen as favoring Moscow. The plan calls for Ukraine to hand over territory, reduce the size of its army, and not join the NATO alliance, with limited security guarantees for Kyiv. Canada joined European nations and Japan in issuing a statement saying leaders support American efforts towards peace but feel the plan needs more work. Okay. Anand would not specify exactly what is wrong with Trump's plan. I don't think Trump cares what Anita Anand thinks. Okay. But said broadly that Canada's long-standing belief is that Ukraine's territorial sovereignty is key and it's up to Kyiv to decide on its future and be at the table for any peace talks. Yeah. Okay. Ukraine is top priority in Canada's foreign policy for ensuring a rules-based international order. Okay. Whatever. So, they're going to try and keep this war going. Okay. What's next? A little closer to home here. Where is this? Calgary. Spotted in Calgary today. Remigration now. This is kind of like when the Freedom Convoy went to Ottawa. They did a lot of overpass gatherings, rallies. So this is kind of like a play on that, which is good. Only 2 people there though, but it's still, the message is there. Gotta keep getting that message. Keep pounding that message. Okay. Next. Here's CTV News again. Trump paints Zelensky into a corner with his new plan to end Russia's war on Ukraine. You see how they say war, Russia's war on Ukraine. Yeah. War on NATO, you mean. Okay. Let's see what it says here. How did he paint him in a corner? So obviously the mainstream news is, they're owned by them. Weapons, the industrial complex that wants to keep this owned or influenced, they want to keep this war going. You could tell in the coverage of the so far. Where is this? All right. How did he paint him in a corner? His new 28-point plan to end Russia's war in Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump is resurfacing his argument that Ukraine President Zelensky doesn't have the cards to continue on the battlefield and must come to a settlement that heavily tilts in Moscow's favor. Well, they're winning, I guess. If they're killing you on the field, I guess that's what happens. Trump, who has demonstrated, so this is a totally anti-Trump. Trump, who has demonstrated low regard for Zelensky dating back to his first term, says he expects the Ukrainian leader to respond to his administration's new plan to end the war by next Thursday. So Thursday, this week. The president said Friday of Zelensky he's going to have to approve it, though he has more. Okay, I would like to get to peace. Okay. We're trying to get it ended one way or the other. We have to get it ended, Trump told reporters outside the White House on Saturday. So we'll see if what happens. Because like I said, they'll kill him. They'll take Zelensky out, his own people, if they don't like giving up land to the Russians. Okay. Pretty crazy. Next. Next. This is funny. The X accounts, they just enabled it so you can see the country of origin as an account where it's based in the account. So you can see who's, like, if there's like some grifting Russian bot or Indian or wherever country, like trying to pretend they're American or whatever. But the funny thing is, several X accounts associated with CBC, as well as the official accounts of the Liberal Party and the NDP, have been revealed to be run out of the United States after the platform began displaying geographic data on profiles. So, yeah, even the Liberal Party, it's hilarious. So maybe they contracted out their social media, but it's like elbows up, eh? Liberal Party, elbows up. They're in the States. It's funny. What are the chances of that? Well, I'm sure they'll change that. I'm sure there'll be more of these stories of where the accounts are based in. But I thought this was a good Canadian, funny Canadian example. Okay. So here's Mark Carney talking about AI data centers must be carbon neutral. This is what he said at the G20. So that's all they're talking about. This G20 is how to go to war with Russia and how to be gay and save the planet from carbon. That's all they're talking about. No wonder Trump didn't go. So Mark Carney's AI data centers says AI data centers must be carbon neutral and pay carbon taxes. The U.S. is dominating AI. Only in Canada do we watch the biggest tech boom in human history. Let's tax it until it leaves. Book of Values. Prosperity. Okay. Let's see what he says here.
Including being in, but I want to highlight a few other issues before my time is up. First, the importance of high-integrity, standardized carbon markets that have the potential to shift capital flows to those most affected by climate change, including being integrated
Shift capital flows to those. I don't even know what this means. How does this help Canada?
Calculations to
Let's see what I'm going to listen.
The potential to shift capital flows to those most affected by climate change, including being integrated with jet fees, such as the jet fee here, changing the incentives and the financial calculations to decarbonize. I'd suggest that we can catalyze enormous private sector demand for these credits by committing AI data center development to be carbon neutral.
Mm.
We need a price on carbon. I salute my neighbor, the European Union, pricing carbon and putting in place a CBAM.
That's all he talks about is carbon, 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 carbon. And basically he's saying we're gonna tie, if you want to build a data center, you have to buy carbon credits on a carbon market or something. So yeah, all that's going to do is scare away business. And these things could be a very good boom for Canada because we have like endless amount of natural gas to power these data centers. And we're in like a peaceful area where no earthquakes or wars are going on, so the data centers would be safe and operate. Like we'd be like the data center powerhouse. And he wants to destroy it before it even starts. And then you wonder why Alberta wants to leave. Like, it's crazy with this guy. That's all he talks about is how can we... He dreams about carbon. That's all he thinks about is carbon, carbon, carbon. But he's not thinking about carbon. He's thinking about the money he can make for charging for the carbon and distributing it to those in need. Yes, distributing money. Next, more pro-Ukraine shills all over my timeline. Jason Kenney, little weasel, Alberta premier, former Alberta premier, weasel, COVID weasel. He really wants this war to keep going. I said he should go fight Russians. He should go fight the Russians, little weasel. Anybody who was pro-war, because most of the time, like 99% of the time, the wars are bullshit. So whoever pushes, especially when you're trying to push diplomacy, I mean, you want diplomacy, and these guys don't even want to talk about diplomacy. Like, Canada hasn't said any word about diplomacy during this whole thing. And Jason Kenney, he likes to talk tough, you know, like, and he calls people Putin admirers. There he goes. Putin admirers in the West. If you don't want to go to war with Russia, you're a Putin admirer, you little weasel. And like I said, he should go fight if he's so convinced about the cause. You know, he's not the premier. He's got time on his hands. So here's what Jason Kenney says. I hate this guy, oh man. After COVID, I still hate him, but he's a weasel. He's a weasel. Look at this guy. I gotta look at him. That's a weasel. That's the face of a weasel. Alright, back to the post. Putin's admirers in the West, including Donald Trump, can't comprehend why Ukraine doesn't just surrender. Here's one big reason. Ukrainians remember the last time Moscow controlled Ukraine. Several million Ukrainians were murdered in the Soviet famine genocide. Okay. So he's talking about something that happened 100 years ago to keep going World War III. Like, now it's Putin's useful idiots in the Western right who deny the brutal and entirely unprovoked nature of Russia's murderous invasion. It wasn't unprovoked. So yeah, I don't know why Jason Kenney, is he trying to run for leadership of something? Because I don't know why. I don't even follow him. Do I follow him? No, I don't. So, he should get on a jet and go fight the Russians if he feels so strongly about it. And I don't like, you know, not only does he want war, and he doesn't want to go fight in the war, but he calls people who are against the war Putin admirers. He said two slurs: Putin admirer and Putin useful idiot. Yeah. All right, here's President Trump talking about Ukraine. I think this is today. Yes. He looks rather relaxed.
Then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
Oh, he's talking about Zelensky if he doesn't accept the peace deal. So I think Trump just wants this war over for whatever reason. He wants it done, and he's really leaning on Zelensky. It's going to be very interesting to see if he can pull this off. He can continue to fight his little heart out. All right. Next, according to the Washington Post, Zelensky is in deep trouble. The Mindich scandal has let Ukraine's corruption genie out of the bottle. By my calculation, Ukraine has burned through 15 to 30% of all foreign aid it was received via corruption. So that's like 300 and something billion. 15% of that, that's 40 billion, 50 billion. So yeah, Canada gave 22 billion for that. And, you know, they were already known as the most corrupt country in Europe by far, and they were still giving $22.5 billion. Who knows how much of that's stolen by Canadian bagmen. So Zelensky has never been more vulnerable. Trump just upped the pressure. So yeah, we were talking about last week about these corruption scandals in Ukraine and how Canada was still giving them more money. But Trump's starting to turn the screws to him. I can't read Washington Post, I guess. So yeah, the walls are closing in on him. Not only that, the scandals, but they might actually try and take him out. Like the nationalists, the ultra nationalists, like the Azov types. They don't want to give up an inch of land. They'll fight the Russians, and they have the backers, like the neocons that'll keep giving them weapons and dying. They'll let them die. So, dangerous times. All right. Canada joins Europe. Okay. I wanted to see this video of Anita Anand. She looks like such a dummy, but I can't find it. Let me see. Maybe it's here. She's so useless anyway. It's almost... She's smarter, I guess she's a little smarter than Melanie Jolie, but she's just as useless. Anyway, I can't find the video of her. But Canada wants to go to war with Russia. Like, they're not really saying it, but they're part of the European mindset that we have to go to war with Russia. I don't understand that. Okay. Here's what Mark Carney says. The initial draft of the 28-point plan on Ukraine includes important elements that will be essential for a just and lasting peace. Canada and our international partners take this opportunity to underline the strength of our continued support to Ukraine. We will coordinate. He must have forgot continue. And we will to coordinate closely with Ukraine and the U.S. over the coming days. So he's pretty neutral there. Okay. He's basically saying whatever, if Trump can pull it off, or I don't know. What else is Canada going to say? So, here's Carney again. That was the video we already saw about him with the AI data centers. No wonder Alberta wants it. I mean, seriously, if the data centers don't get built in Alberta because of something like this, it's going to have a really bad effect on Alberta's relationship. Even not just Alberta, but other countries, like other areas of the country might lose out on this. Who knows? The point is all he talks about is carbon. Carbon, carbon, carbon. And who knows? Maybe he's right, but I don't think he is. I think he's just, they want to tax the carbon. They want to tax the air you breathe. These crazy people. Okay, so let's go back to more closer to home. This is a horrible story. Canada's very lenient on our violent criminals and cold-blooded killers. What's this say? Look at this guy. This guy is a notorious killer. And like in the States, this guy he'd be in a hole, he wouldn't see the light of day for the rest of his life, or he'd be dead. They'd kill him. But in Canada, we've sent him to a nice medium security prison. It's crazy. So this guy is a notorious triple killer. Dylan Millard has been transferred from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison. A joint statement issued by the family of the victim said they are disgusted by the news. This also comes following the transfer of serial killer and rapist Paul Bernardo from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison just a few years ago. Why does the liberal government keep prioritizing the well-being of convicted killers over victims? Okay, so yeah, look at this guy. I don't trust this guy at all. He's a killer. So a medium security prison is for people that commit non-violent crimes, like maybe a little drug trafficking, minor drug trafficking, little embezzlement and some fraud, whatever. Very like low violent or non-violent crimes. Like, I wouldn't want to be with this guy if I'm like doing a little time for whatever, a minor crime. I wouldn't want to be sitting next to this guy in the cafeteria. But anyway, he shouldn't be. He should be at a maximum. He shouldn't be enjoying the rest of his life at all. Like, in medium security prisons, you could actually maybe have a little semblance of normalcy, and I don't think he deserves that. But this is just like Canada. We don't punish people. We let them do whatever they want, and then we and who knows, maybe he'll escape or kill somebody at the medium security prison, because he looks like the type that'll do it again. But let's look at this guy one more. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be at the prison with this guy. I'm in there for little bank fraud, and I got to sit next to this guy. But it is a slap in the face to the family of the victims. Yeah, in the States, he would have been in the worst prison, in the Supermax, if they didn't kill him. All right. Next, there's Mark Carney with Emmanuel Macron. These guys, both their countries are going to shit, France and Canada, and they're talking about carbon and going to war with Russia. That's their priority. I don't know what they're saying in French. Probably Carney doesn't know either. Okay, so that's today my X feed is full of globalist warmongers desperate to keep the Ukraine war going in order to get into World War III with Russia. So this is Ukraine. This is Friedrich Merz. This is the German chancellor. Ukraine can count on us. Together with Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer, I reaffirmed our full support to Zelensky. We will coordinate closely with Europe and the US, whose commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty we welcome. The contact line must remain the basis for any talks. I don't even know what that means, the contact line. But it's basically a diplomatic way of saying we're going to do our best to obstruct this peace plan. We'll see. It's going to be a very interesting law. I'm not making any predictions. Here. Next, there's Ursula von der Leyen. This is the EU president. We welcome continued U.S. efforts to bring peace to Ukraine. The initial draft of the 28-point plan includes important elements that will be essential for a just and lasting peace. We believe, therefore, that the draft is a basis which will require additional work, of course. We are ready to engage in order to ensure that a future peace is sustainable. We are clear on the principle that borders must not be changed by force. So, yeah, they're basically saying they don't want this deal. We're concerned by the proposed limitations on Ukraine's armed forces, which would leave Ukraine vulnerable to future attack. So they want to keep those weapons going, of course. We reiterate that the implementation of elements relating to the European Union and relating to NATO would need to consent of EU and NATO. So basically, she's dragging her feet. This is the EU president. We take this opportunity to underline the strength of our continued support to Ukraine. We'll continue to coordinate closely with Ukraine and U.S. over the coming days. So, coming days, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I know Trump's going to be under a lot of pressure from this, the neocon, that warmongers that really push represent the arms industry. They'll have to resist that pressure. All right. So there's all the European leaders there. And it's hilarious. Like, literally every European country is being destroyed. France, Italy, UK, Germany. And all they talk about is, we got to keep supporting Ukraine for World War III. I don't think even the Ukrainians want to fight. Maybe they do. Here's this friends, partners, allies, united in support for Ukraine. So they're, like I said, it's Keir Starmer, Merz, and Macron. Their countries are going to shit. Their women are getting raped, and people are getting killed and overrun, and they're worried about Ukraine. Look at these guys. And the only sane person, I wish somebody in Canada would talk like this, like Pierre Polyev won't. Viktor Orban from Hungary, and Hungary's right there, right by Ukraine, so they got a bird's eye view of things, unlike us in Canada. And it says he was like literally the only one on my feed who doesn't want this war to continue. So what's he say? All right. The Russian-Ukraine war has brought Europe to a historic turning point. President Donald Trump has not given up on bringing peace to Ukraine. Europe now faces two paths. We can turn back from this dead end and finally unite behind President Trump's peace initiative, including the Brazilian bureaucrats. This would require the pro-war leaders to face the fact that over the past 3.5 years, they have wasted the hard-earned money of Europeans on a war that cannot be won on the battlefield. The other path leads straight into war. If Europe's pro-war leaders... This is interesting. Okay. If Europe's pro-war leaders continue to pour money and weapons into Ukraine, Canada too, without the support of the United States, they will pave the way for a European-Russian conflict. Europe knows all too well where that road leads, and the consequences have been tragic. There's no question which path Hungary chooses, the path of peace. This is the mandate given to us by the Hungarian people, and it is what morality and common sense demand. Today I'm sending a letter to the President of the European Commission in this spirit. He's being totally attacked too for not wanting millions of migrants in his country, and now he's getting attacked for this. So I wish Canadian politicians would say stuff like this, like call for an end to the Ukraine war and against having their country flooded by migrants. Like this Hungarian prime minister sounds like he knows what the people want. There he is there. He's been attacked big time by the globalists. But he, like I said, even in Canada, Pierre Polyev, he won't say a word about the Ukraine war, trying to end the Ukraine war, because he's afraid, he'll be afraid of being called a Putin toady. See, you can't be afraid of being called that. You gotta say, what's good for Canada, not worry about being called names. But Pierre's not up to the task. All right. Here's a more anti. Okay, what is next? Okay, I don't know where. Oh, okay. Next one. This is another one closer to home. About 500,000 Canadians exited emergency rooms without seeing a doctor. Remigration. Oh, how sweet it sounds. Yeah, this is pretty. It's kind of an accepted fact in Canada. Like, oh, if you're going to go to the emergency room, bring a book. You're going to be there all night. Probably a lot of people, it's not emergency. Like, they shouldn't go to emergency room, but they don't have a doctor, so they have nowhere else to go. But yeah, it is. It's not good when you have millions of people into the country in the last 10 years without keeping up with the health system. It's starting to show a lot of cracks. A lot of people don't even bother going to unless they're like bleeding out. They're not going to go wait 6 hours. But that's the country we live in. That's the country we live in. So that's it for today. Be definitely, we'll see if, well, I guess Thursday is the deadline or the goal to get a Ukraine deal. A lot of stuff should be going on this week, whether it goes or not. So that'll be interesting. I'm against World War III, so hopefully they do a deal, get it over with. So yeah, next broadcast will be tomorrow, November 23rd. We'll see what the top story is tomorrow. Until then, have a nice night, and we'll see you then.